Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hey, what's happening?
Not much, man.
Mag-oo na.
Rocking and rolling over here. I guess I gotta fix my collar. Popping collars over here.
Afternoon.
After this stage means for sure.
Oh my God, dude. I think, put 5 hotels under LOI today.
Yes.
Wow.
Literally, just things just opened up. Like the floodgates literally just opened.
That's freaking awesome.
You saw the Pensacola Suburban Suites. I sent you a copy of that. We have the Oyo in Pensacola, the Garnet Inn in Orlando, the Gainesville Select in Gainesville, Florida, the Opal Christina in Altamont Springs has resurfaced.
Oh,
Yep,
so how about the
Yep. So we'll see where that goes. We have the Econo Lodge in Orlando.
Orlando?
Yeah, there's literally, I think, 5 or 6 hotels that literally just came to fruition in the last 24 hours. Let's shed some light on this. Yeah,
Awesome.
and then we got some traction on the Ricci Towers. It looks like we found the potential lead sponsor operator has access to a fund that is around $2 billion. And they're bullish on Dallas, and they're looking to do conversions, office to multifamily conversions.
Yeehaw.
Yes, sir. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Christina, you want to pull up the
Share my screen.
hospitality to multifamily conversions that we're looking at? It looks like we got a new face in the room. Michael, how you doing,
How you
sir?
guys doing? Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Fantastic.
It's
Wanna
my
get-
first week in the deal room. I'm from Boston, so I'm just listening in. I'm a multifamily investor, but I'm interested in this as well. So I want to just kind of listen in.
Fantastic. That's my home state.
From Massachusetts?
Yeah, born in Rhode Island, raised in Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah, I was brought up in Bellingham, Mass.
Okay, yeah. So that's right next to like Woonsocket. Yeah, I know where that is.
Yep. So I went to Mount St. Charles Academy in Woonsocket.
Okay,
So graduated
Great.
from that high school and then joined the Marines 11 days after my high school graduation.
very nice.
Yep.
Thank you.
And then
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. So yeah, and then after I think my last duty station, I want to think, but my last duty station was Camp Pendleton in San Diego. So after getting the California lifestyle weather, kind of in my blood, I refused to go back to the cold winters in New England.
Very smart. So where are you based now? Are you in California?
I'm based just outside of the capital of California, so just outside of Sacramento,
Got it. Okay.
in a small suburb called Loomis, which is a city about 20 minutes northeast of Sacramento, up against Folsom Lake.
Very cool. You're in a good. Well, is California still the place to be? It seems like it's been getting some bad rep the last few years.
It really depends on who you talk to.
Yeah,
And so I love California, for various reasons. The diversity is amazing.
yeah.
It's the 5th strongest economy on the planet.
It's beautiful. I mean, I love
I
California
mean, the
too.
list goes on. Yeah,
Yeah.
so people will complain, but
Yeah.
those people will always complain,
Sure.
regardless of where they
It
live.
just seems like the hot spot. I mean, it probably just priced up, but it just seems like everything is like the Sun Belt, Texas, Florida, Carolinas, right, and like California, and everybody from California. You don't hear a lot of people investing in California nowadays. So that's why. Is it just on the hush hush, or
It depends.
so
So I'm
yeah.
licensed. I've been licensed now for 2 decades.
Yeah.
I do fix and flips on the residential side, so I think the equity play is the
Yeah.
direction for, investors here in California, because prices will continue to climb for various different reasons, largely due
Yeah.
to the fact that the other 47 states, travel here to vacation, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to multifamily, my money's in Florida.
Sure.
So, and, with that being said, this is a property that we are literally walking as we speak. I have my general contractor on site at the Garnet Inn and Suites, which is in Orlando. Don't need to really talk too much about the Orlando market. Doesn't get much hotter, literally, or humid than Orlando, Florida. And we are, on track to put this under LOI in the next 24 hours. We've been going back and forth with the seller on a purchase price that I believe we can transact at. So let's go ahead and jump into this a little bit so you guys can see what we're working on. Next slide, please. So here's an overview of the asset in question, open in 87. It is independent, so we are asking the seller to release the flag, but there really is none. So there's going to be no liquidated damages there. Built in 91, renovated in 2001, 162 keys. It is a 2-story interior corridor hotel. Looks like we got some meeting space, but I don't know if that square footage is accurate. It's on a decent sized lot at 3.88 acres, zoning C2 or commercial, which allows for multifamily. So it's just be a matter of going through and doing the change of use. Does have a business center, restaurant, on-site retail, pool, fitness center. So we would consider this kind of a full service hotel. And that's the reason why we go after hotels that have 100 or more keys, is because they have not only the number of doors to give us the NOI that we're looking for, but most importantly has the amenity space, which is something really important to us. Any questions on this? It looks like the parking is going to suffice. We may have to get a variance. Typically in Florida, they're asking for a 1.5 or 1.5 spaces per door. So we have 231 spaces. I know in Florida, you could pour asphalt and pave without having to do a full 10 set if you do so under 4,000 square feet. So there's certainly room to add some additional parking as necessary, but certainly has enough spaces. So, which is a really important thing to consider when doing a conversion, is parking. Any questions on the overview of the asset in question? No, great. Next slide.
What's the play here? So is it so you basically improve it, raise the value, and then sell in a couple of years, or hold, or so you're
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, so
like,
it
what's the big
basically,
picture?
yeah, so basically it's a 2-year stabilization process. So it's a 1-year construction, anywhere between 9 to 12 months to do the conversion. In some cases, like you see in this picture here in the bottom right-hand corner, it does have a kitchenette. So, which means it's going to have the MEP and potentially sub panels in the room, which certainly offsets the cost for running power to accommodate the additional appliances. So yeah, that is the play. So we're turning these rooms into micro studios or efficiency studios with a focus on workforce housing.
Okay.
And typically what we like to see is the purchase price to be 30% of what would be the potential exit price per door in that market. So in this market, you could probably trade per door around 200,000, right? So the goal is
for efficiency units.
For efficiency units, yes.
Really? Okay. And what would be the rent? Like, what would be the rent per month after renovation?
After renovation, I think we were underwriting this at 1350.
1350 and trading at, okay, so that's like a 5.5 cap or somewhere in that ballpark.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, so that's the play, is to, basically do just that, convert these assets. Ground up construction, as you well know, takes 3 to 5 years, right? And it's challenging to find, value add multifamily opportunities at Pencil. And so I've
Very
kind of,
challenging.
yeah. So I kind of spearheaded this approach about 2.5 years ago, closed on 3 assets in Jacksonville. So 334 keys. We're in the process now of the construction. We're about halfway through. We'll have about 341 doors upon completion.
Yeah.
We're in the process of doing a refi, but the goal is to trade probably in about 5 years and flip it.
So is this your main, is this like what you do, like, or?
This is what I do.
This is what,
Yep.
got it.
So I do office complexes. I'm looking at that as well. So we got a few large opportunities under LOI that we're venturing after. But I started with hospitality to multifamily conversions.
Cool.
Yep. So that's what I do. So if you have any interest, certainly reach out. Christina will put her email in the chat, and we can see how we can potentially partner on these opportunities. I have 5 more deals, in the queue, and many more coming. My goal is to do about 100 of these in the next 3 to 5 years.
I'll definitely reach out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this, here's an overview of the asset in question. I know that there's going to be some roof work needed. Talk to the seller on that. So I'm well aware. Landscaping looks like it's in great shape. Typically when we do the change of use, we get waivers on landscaping because of the condition of these properties are typically in great shape, and there's not a lot of room to do anything significant, excuse me. It's got a nice size pool, so the amenity space is ideal. This would be a perfect example of a hospitality to multifamily conversion. Let's go ahead and check out the next slide. Let's look at the location. So here is a picture. I'm not going to do a conversion unless there's a Waffle House across the street, and this certainly checks the box. That's a joke, of course. Certainly has great frontage and a location as far as appearance goes. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next slide and look at kind of a 10,000 overview. So along the 441 and the 528, so great location as far as lots of traffic. We see lots of supporting businesses in the area that will lead for a successful workforce housing environment. Of course, we know Orlando being a destination location for recreation. So needless to say, this is a great location for just that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next slide and jump into the analytics. One more slide. All right, so in that area, we know the cap rate's around 4.7, market sales price per unit 220K. The population growth, not necessarily accurate because there's not a lot of multifamily in this area. So certainly we're going to do a deeper dive on, confirming the demand. But as you can see, the rents are strong and increasing. And vacancy is relatively low. So certainly checks the boxes as far as the analytics go. Next slide. Let's go ahead and take a look at some rents. Christine, are you there? Next slide. And here are the rent comparables.
Yes, here, I'm presenting now the rents.
Yep, next slide. Here we are.
Can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yep, you can see your screen. So we can see in the area within a half mile, we have studios in and around the square footage of these hotel rooms. Oh, back one slide. Christina, you're moving too fast. Back 2 slides, Christina.
There. Can you see?
Yeah,
Is
you need to focus and go back on 2 slides, go back to the rents. Here we go. Okay, leave it there for a second now.
Mhm.
Okay, so looking at the rent comps, we can see that we're renting around $3 a square foot, which is, I think, the sweet spot when doing conversions of this nature. We can see that they're renting anywhere between 1,000, and these are as of June 2023, and they're getting around $3.21 square feet. Our hotel rooms are around $350 a square foot. I mean, 350 square feet. And you can see the median between the 450 square foot units to the 312 is around a $1,200 to $1,300 variance between the two as an average between the two. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And this is the underwriting for a $10 million purchase price. Rents being $1,300. We're looking at a 29.3% IRR with a 2.84 multiple on equity and an 86.5% capital return. We're going to be looking at exiting in around 63 months with a sales price of just over 33 million at 179,000 per door at a 5 cap. Next slide. Any questions on this asset? I should have an update for you guys next Thursday for our next meeting to confirm that I get this under LOI and contract. So we're looking forward to share that good news with you guys.
So I have a high level question. Just being a newbie, what's the so that's very informative, a very interesting presentation. So what's the objective? Like, is it just to like the objective of this meeting, I guess, or is it just to share? Like, do people like share their deals, or like, is it to teach? Is it to get a co-investor?
All of the above. Yeah, all of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've partnered with deals. I would partner with people on deals that they brought forward to confirm whether or not it's a good play to pursue. You know, educate, show the potential of the opportunities, partner. So all of the above. It's just a way to kind of expose myself and network virtually, and basically Zoom is just doing that.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
What is the total, like, so you have $10 million purchase price, and what is the total construction price? Maybe I missed that. I think it was probably in there. Like, what is the ballpark of
I believe we're looking at I think around $30,000. I can pull, I don't know if I had that on that slide. So we're looking at about 30,000 a door for the conversion. And I think we had 167 doors. So and then I think we had some costs associated with replacing the roof. But in essence, we're around 6 million plus or minus.
So 6 million. So you're all in for 16, and so that's obviously an amazing deal, right? So and you want to exit for 30 plus.
That's correct.
Right. So that's like a slam dunk.
Oh, all day long.
Yeah.
All day long.
So what's is there any reason why why doesn't everybody jump on this, right? Like as in, is it just because it's difficult because there's a lot of overhead of like knowing how to do it properly? Is it finding the deals? Like what makes this like a hidden gem, right? So everybody looks for, you know, so the cap rate or the ROI here is like 29 IRR for investors or something ridiculous. So you know, like what would you say is the reason why?
You know, I think the barrier of entry is a little, I guess, concerning for a traditionalist multifamily guy, because there is a potential for rezoning and change of use, right? So that barrier keeps a lot of traditionalists on the sideline.
Is that a big risk? Like, do you have something like an option that
always
you can back out of? So you have an option to back out of the deal if you can't convert it, right? So that's part of the option.
Yeah, so to mitigate the risk to my investors, I bake in contingencies. One of those contingencies is to get the change of use approved prior to closing escrow.
Got it. Do you have any hard money if it falls through? Like, do you lose any money or
Nope.
nothing at all?
Nope.
Oh, wow. So that's a no-brainer. So it's
It's a
kind of,
no-brainer.
yeah. Okay, very cool.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why I just love doing this is Florida's growing between 1,200 to 1,500 people per day.
Yeah,
There is a housing shortage. I think with the costs of infrastructure, real estate, materials, labor, repurposing distressed assets is going to become even more pertinent and more as a viable option. And
right.
hence the reason
Everywhere,
why I'm
with
doing.
office. Yeah.
Yep, that's why I'm doing office to multifamily conversions as well.
So you said you're sorry, I'm like hogging the questions, but you said
no, that's what it's for.
you're in Florida. So with the insurance, is that at all a concern that if it continues to grow at this rate, it could make the holding or like it could make it not viable in the long run? Although the numbers here are so good, it doesn't matter what the insurance does.
Exactly. I stress the deal in various different forms, but certainly add, insurance, taxes, et cetera, et cetera. But as long as the cost basis is so low, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
no-brainer.
I mean, I get it. This is like I'm sold. Yeah.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one. So yeah. And I have, like I said, a handful of projects coming, and the only way I can take these projects down successfully is through partnerships. I'm a syndicator, right? So and my focus is in on acquisitions. I leverage my experience and my broker relationships in the Florida market. So I have family in Fort Myers. I've been in real estate for 20 years. I know a lot of brokers. They bring me deals. They know that I can transact, I close. And so then I shore everything up, put things under contractual control. And then once I have that control, then I look out for the lead sponsor, lead operator, my fund manager, who wants a piece of this deal, et cetera, and then just rinse and repeat.
How many do you do this in parallel? Do you have a bunch of these in parallel?
In parallel, I have one in Indy, one in Gainesville, 2 in Pensacola, 1 in Orlando, 1 in Kissimmee. And it's just now, doing this for almost 3 years, things are starting to really start to pick up. But yes, I have a bunch in parallel.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Let's check out the next property. Christine, you want to pull up the next presentation?
Yes.
Oh, the OYO. So this one is our next project that we're shoring up as we speak, in negotiations with the seller. This is in what I want to consider an emerging market in Florida, Pensacola. There's a large naval installation there. It's growing leaps and bounds, and there's a dire need for housing. Let's go ahead and jump into the OYO Hotel in Pensacola. So as we go to the next slide, we'll go ahead and take a look at the property summary. Oh, right there. All right, so we have 121 rooms, but I know that there is some damage in about 20 of those rooms. So we certainly built that into the underwriting. The seller is going to release the flag, built in 1972. 121 keys, 2-story exterior corridor on just under 5 acres, zone commercial C2, which allows for multifamily. We just need to do the change of use. For sale for 5.5. I have it locked in at 5 million. So great opportunity. We have room for some additional parking, but currently has 130 spaces. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next slide. Here are some pictures. So lots of green space, lots of usable space to add some amenities. Roof needs to be replaced. We got about 22 down rooms. But yeah, overall, lots of potential here. Next slide. Let's take a look at the location. So we are also looking at a hotel that I just got under LOI today, which is the Suburban Suites in Pensacola, which is located just down the street. I was hoping that it was going to be on this map, but it looks like it's not. But it is along Pensacola Boulevard, along the 95, lots of freeway traffic there. Got a Napa Auto Parts store, but is positioned well just on the front side of a residential area. So, which makes me happy. Next slide. Did I just see another Waffle House in that picture? Anyways, there was another Waffle House right there. Waffle House. Apparently, I'm establishing a trend, buying hotels next to Waffle Houses.
Good,
Anyways,
it's good waffles. It's a good.
yeah, right. Yeah, I'm getting hungry over here.
It raises the rent.
Absolutely, the convenience, right? So you don't have to walk too far for breakfast.
It's,
Okay, back to the next slides, Christina. Let's take a look at the analytics. So we got some population growth, absorption 386. Market sales price per unit on exit is 197K. Cap rate at 5.6. Rents are looking very generous. Again, a growing market, what I would consider an emerging market. So definitely checks the boxes on the key metrics for the analytics. Next slide. Let's take a look at the rent comparables. So as you can see, a 300 square foot apartment is renting between $3.18 to $4 a square foot in that market, which blows my mind. But again, great area, growing leaps and bounds. We're definitely bullish for Pensacola. Hence the reason why we have not one, but two hotels under LOI in that market. Next slide. And taking a look at the underwriting, we have a net profit levered at just over $8 million with a 39.7% IRR, a 3.64 equity multiplier, and a 100% capital return to our investors by year 2. This is at a $500,000 credit down by the general conditions, and this is a very conservative rent, in my opinion, at $11.50 for these actual units. Any questions on the analytics? These do have kitchenettes, so we're anticipating around $15,000 per door for the conversion, since they already have the kitchenettes. We're doing about $250,000 in site work, $250,000 in building exterior facade, just under $2 million for unit interiors. I know we're going to have to address the roof and do some modifications to the MEP, and we do have to add sprinklers, so we definitely have that checked as well. So we're looking all in at around $21,000 per door, or a total hard cost of $2.5 million for the renovation. Next slide. And that concludes that. Do we have any more, Christina? We're going to jump over to retail too.
That's all for the hospitality.
Okay, fantastic. So that concludes the first half of our presentation, hospitality to multifamily. We're going to jump into our next half, which is going to be retail to self-storage. Nick, you got the floor.
Thank you. Awesome presentation today. Great opportunities.
Lifetime. I go to Lifetime
Very cool. At which one?
in Burlington, Massachusetts, Boston.
Oh, that's
area.
yeah, very nice affluent area.
Where are you? Which area are you in?
I'm located right where Steven's at, Roseville, California.
Very
So
cool.
you got some really premier clubs out here in Cali.
Now, a little funny side story. I hired Nick from Lifetime. I literally live at Lifetime. I'm there like 5-6 days a week.
Yeah.
And Nick was looking to get into real estate, wanted to get his real estate license, get into residential. I'm like, yeah, definitely do that, but let me show you what I'm also doing. And he's been on the team now for about 10 months.
Oh, coming up on a year.
Is it coming up on a year? Yeah, because it was around
Yeah.
summertime that we got together and started
Yep.
chatting about this business that I had launched, and now we're looking to break ground on a ground up to self-storage development in North Carolina and a handful of other opportunities. But I'll let you take the floor, Nick.
Yeah, I'll kick it off there. So we presented out on Peters Creek Parkway maybe 4 to 6 weeks ago. That's the property Stephen was alluding to. It sits on 13 acres, and we look to build out 100,000 square feet of enclosed climate controlled self-storage, in addition to about 180,000 square feet of vehicle storage for both boat and RV. It's a nice little affluent pocket in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And we think it's a great opportunity. There's a lot of residential multifamily development going up around it. Right now, we're working with a landscape architect that partners with an engineer to look at the grading of the land. Once we get that preliminary review of it and we understand the CapEx involved, we'll either be able to greenlight the project and then work with that same person to rezone it for the self-storage capabilities, or nix the project and continue to look for other opportunities in that market, because we know it's a great emerging market with an affluent population and an undersaturated market for self-storage. Today, I'm going to present out on two different opportunities. One of these is a ground up development. The other one is a conversion project for a former Kmart. This first one here is a ground up development. It's Golden Hills Parkway, El Dorado Hills. So this is actually close to Stephen and I, about 45 minutes away. Probably one of the most affluent cities in the country. Overall, I think its median household income is about 134,000. It sits off of Highway 50, which is the direct route to Lake Tahoe. And then there's also a large body of water, Folsom Lake, which makes this really a keen opportunity for not only the self-storage, but the boat and RV storage. So we'll dive into this one here, and feel free to jump in. Mike, one thing you'll see with the self-storage play is the returns are very generous as far as a multiplier. The hospitality multifamily conversions are very lucrative and will fetch a higher stabilization value. But we'll see some of these projects be in the $20 to $30 million value once stabilized, but we'll realize anywhere from like a 3 to a 4x multiplier as far as returns. So different avenue, but one that's fast growing and very lucrative as well.
So I missed that. So what's this as opposed to the conversion? So you're saying that the multiple, the ROI is similar, or what's the?
So with our hospitality and multifamily conversions, we'll see a 2 to 3x multiplier. With our retail to self-storage, we'll see anywhere from like a 3 to 4x multiplier. So we're
retail
able to get
self-storage. Wait, so retail to self-storage, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're saying that's an even higher multiplier than hotel to multifamily.
And I share that in there because a lot of times when we chase after like traditional multifamily value adds, because of the big sticker value, the high NOIs, it's very appealing. But this is actually a really good market to be in because you're able to realize more opportunities and get a higher multiplier from it. So on a volume side, you're able to make up that difference versus like multifamily. And that's why we built out this acquisitions lane, so to speak, because we found it very valuable. And we kind of toggle between the hospitality, the retail conversions, and most recently office to multifamily. So diving into this property, it's actually 5.5 acres. I think CoStar has a mistake on there. It's zoned R&D, research and development, but it sits amongst probably 3 adjacent self-storage properties. So we're in talks with the city right now to understand the zoning, the applicability of self-storage, but because right across the street and less than half a mile away, they have granted approval for self-storage and boat and RV. We're optimistic towards them lending this same space for it. Taking a look at the KPIs, it's been a long haul in the market here at 873 days. The square foot per capita is a bit saturated on the 3 mile. We're seeing a 10.2. For our standards, anything below an 8 is going to tell us that there's opportunity to lease up the market or continue to add units. And I'll kind of dive into why we're optimistic about this. As we zoom out to the 5 mile, we can see a 5.63, which is below that 8 and the state average of 5.88. And we're seeing about a 50% climate mix within this area. Population is strong, both in the 3 and the 5, but the growth at 28 and 11% is what's offsetting some of the saturation that we see on that 3 mile. Adjacent to this property is 10,000 single family homes that are being built. So we anticipate during not only the construction of this facility, but the lease up, that this saturation will continue to dwindle down and give us that availability of leasing up these units at an expedited rate. And coupling that with the vehicle storage will also draw in additional opportunities to lease up the self-storage facility. Some of the strongest median household incomes in the country here at 101 and 107 respectively. Low renter and multifamily occupied. We take a look at these metrics just to assess of that population, what would be the inherent demand of self-storage. Anytime we see higher renter occupied and or multifamily, it signals us that that population is going to be more privy or likely to need self-storage, particularly the multifamily analytic here. Asking price is at 1.3 million. We've penciled it out and are going to move in at $1 million strike price, just due to the amount of time that's been on the market and getting the negotiations with the broker on that. And then you can see in the notes here, the 10,000 homes being developed adjacent to the property is driving some of the success that we see for this opportunity, as well as the Bay Area migration that has continued to drive huge growth into the Sacramento area. Taking a look at the plot of land here, obviously it's undeveloped. It sits inside a business park. So we just have some of those industrial style offices or office buildings and other uses in the area. So it's off of a major highway and a highly trafficked road. So we'll get great visibility from that standpoint to help with the lease up. Zooming out, taking a further view here, we can see the subject property, Latrobe being the main road that we'd want here, with most of the passing. Off to the right, we can see another self-storage facility that's in the process of development. This is Life Storage. Not pictured in here is Superior Self-Storage, which is kind of the premier boat and RV storage for Northern California or the Sacramento area. It would be a good synergistic competitor to help draw more attention to our location. If we were not included in this PowerPoint is a further out view, but we can see where the residential starts on this side as well as off to the right here. If we were to continue to zoom out, pictured on there would be, you can just see mass amounts of roads that have been developed where they have now started plotting homes and will begin construction here immediately, which is leading to that population growth. Diving into the competitor analysis, we can see there's only about 6 or 7 competitors within that 5 mile radius, with most of them concentrated right around our property. This isn't deter us from it. It actually works synergistically because while people are shopping these competitors, it'll help draw more attention to our facility. And we'll take the Pepsi challenge any day for the service that we provide with our operator that we work with, S3. Pictured up here, you can see Lake Folsom, which will help drive a lot of that boat and RV storage. And if you were to continue up Highway 50, it would go to Tahoe, Lake Tahoe, in about an hour and a half. So just a very dense suburban population with affluency. And that's what suggests the boat and RV storage being a good play here. We can see that there's only one new build, this dark green, that came in 2021, but no new expansions in the area. So it tells us that we're primed to move in here before other competitors do and be able to lease up our asset and stabilize it prior to any competitor intrusion. Taking a look at the market rates, we can see a 164 average for a 10 by 10, which is a strong rate. Anytime we see anything over $140 for a 10 by 10 climate controlled, it's going to start penciling, get north of 150, 160. It's going to start looking better and better in terms of underwriting. And we can see that the rates are also increasing over the last 3 months here from a 127 low. So this suggests an increase in demand. Some of the like for like competitors like Superior Self Storage were leasing at around 185 for a 10 by 10. While we don't want to be the highest in the market, we want to be kind of the upper quarter. We would mirror our prices around that. You can see we're about 180 in the underwriting for our 10 by 10. Additionally, you can see the unit mix here ranging from 5 by 10 to 10 by 20. We have our canopied covered boat and RV which is trading for about $1.25 a square foot, which is pretty high. I think the nation averaged around 70 cents a square foot for canopied, both boat and RV storage. Just speaks to the affluency of the area. Factored in here, we have the site work for the canopied parking, the building exterior facade, and then an additional $8 million for the ground up construction of the climate controlled facility of 100,000 square feet, all in at 9.6 million. These would be the returns realized with this underwriting model at 25% IRR, a 3.4 multiplier, and 84% refi capital. Self-storage facilities take a little bit longer to lease up than multifamily, so this would be stabilized by year 3 to year 4. Any questions on this property before we jump into the next one? I see you thinking, Mike.
No, I'm just trying to process the number. So what's the exit? What's the exit number? So you're all in for, I'm just trying to kind of just like high
All
level
in for
number.
9.6.
Yeah.
Stabilized value would be 17.2 million.
And that's in 4 to 5 years?
We would hold this for 7 to
7,
fully
okay.
stabilize it. We would refinance after 3.5 years.
Okay.
Typical lease up duration, you could realize a lease up in 12 to 18 months of a self-storage facility, particularly one that's a fast growing population like this. To be conservative underwriting, we place in there about a 28 to 30 month lease up, just to give ourselves an abundance of time. But obviously upon physical and economic occupancy being reached, we would go quickly to that refinance to lower the debt service.
What would you say is like the biggest risks in so this is like a high return, so high return, high risk in kind of reaching these numbers? Is it the like there's no moat, right? So for example, if other companies decide to come into that region, and so that could make have an oversupply potentially, or what other kinds of things? So construction delays or construction costs going up. Like what are the kinds of things for this play that would be kind of the biggest risks to be aware of, at least like to have considered and to kind of mitigate as you?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah.
I'd start off by saying that this actually kind of insulates you against risk. Ground up construction of a self-storage facility does run the risk of, like you had mentioned, competitor intrusion. So similar to our model of asset conversion, which we'll see on the next presentation, it's much quicker and easier to convert an existing building into self-storage. If we have a big vacant warehouse, we go in there, we put up those climate controlled units, which are just the whole
faster turnaround. Is that
why? Now, if there were a building available for that type of conversionist area, I would have picked up on it during my scouting. This is a newer area with newer development, so there's not a lot of big vacant retail boxes or big boxes to begin with. So we can kind of scout the area and say like, okay, that's not likely to come in. With other competitors moving into the area doing ground up construction, upon completion, if we have maybe a second or a third competitor, it can create kind of a price war where we're offering promotions or reduced pricing to try to capture market share early on. At that point, it can make the project more difficult or reduce returns in that 2 to 3 years time frame, and then present a challenge of having to increase said leases over the duration of the hold. But one of the reasons why we do pursue these opportunities is it has a lower risk versus if you look at like multifamily ground up development. The costs of the building material is much lower because we're putting up a building, whether it's just tilt up concrete walls or other forms of construction, and filling it with hallway units, which is not expensive because we have aluminum siding, roll up garage doors, cages over top.
Do you guys do any kind of like I don't know, Facebook ads or any kind of way to validate demand and willingness for customers to pay? So you can obviously look at your competitors and what they're charging.
We have three methods for that. The first one's Radius Plus. There's StoreTrack is another software that does this. Radius will pull all the data from the competitors within a specified radius. It'll tell you the square foot per capita, which is basically analogous to absorption rate for multifamily. And then once we kind of get a feel for it, we like what we see, we'll go ahead and just call the local competitors to identify, hey, are they offering promotions, which may suggest low demand? Or are they experiencing wait lists, which suggests high demand? And then the third step would be moving to a feasibility study, where we'll work with like CubeSmart or other like Life Storage. They can actually go through, itemize each asset, and we can discount their square foot per capita due to low distance and age of asset. For example, if there's a market and 2 of those 4 competitors I showed previously are older, maybe Class C, Class B facilities with less amenities offered, we can discount some of their competitor intrusion because we're offering a different product, and the value versus price will kind of drive the market share towards us. But a feasibility study would kind of be the end all be all when we get serious and we're moving from, being under LOI towards a PSA. We're going to go ahead and initiate one of those.
Got it. Yeah, I asked just because it's obviously a big project, takes time, a lot of money. So I just want to be de-risk any way that I can to make sure that what we're building is there's going to be enough demand and enough, that the numbers will actually pencil out once finished. So those are good. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what's great. The rates I showed there are a 12-month average for all the competitors within a 5-mile radius. So we're able to look at and see what they're leasing up for throughout the entire year, if there's any kind of seasonality over summer, winter, what have you, the highs and lows in the market. And then we can go competitor by competitor and compare comps and say, okay, here's the area average, here's the Class A facilities that would be most similar to ours, here's what they're trading at in terms of rental income. Okay, if we set ours at, let's say 80% of that, we're confident that we can deliver that to market and exceed our expectations.
Right. Cool.
And we bake in, extra costs into the CapEx. We go on a conservative method. Sometimes for like an interior conversion, high end would be $40 a square foot. But you'll see GCs that will quote you 25 to 30. Between our operator and the bank, who are very conservative, we got a lot of safeguards in place to make sure that these deals are going to flow correctly.
And you guys have like partners that you work with to do the construction, or you guys don't have it in-house, right?
Correct. Yeah, we would syndicate and bring in our operator would help, or we would work with our operator to identify a local GC that we'd want to have come walk the property and utilize this. Because we have partnerships all over the country, we have a network of GCs and people are able to either work directly with or be referred to.
So you get multiple bids. Like, is it similar? Like, do you have like an architect? Like, how's the process for self-storage? Do you work with is there like a designer that puts together? Is that kind of a similar process as multifamily? Kind of an architect?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep, it would mirror it almost identically to multifamily. The operator we primarily work with, S3, actually is owned and founded by an architect.
I see.
So he delegates it out. They have another in-house person that does it, but he already has the understanding of what that looks like and has been instrumental in just kind of educating us on okay, here's how we want to look at unit mixes. As we go to look at this asset conversion here, and we have a fixed box, we will modify the size of units or the unit mix to maximize the utilization of that square footage. And that's where you see some of these storage facilities where it's like, we got our traditional 5x10, 10x10, 10x15. Oh, but here's an 8x10, or here's a 5x7. Because we're able to
maximize maximize profit optimization.
Yep. And you're able to realize anywhere up to 85% of a building square footage towards the leasable square footage. So the circulation for hallways, the front office at these facilities does not have to be very massive. So you can get a great return compared to multifamily, where you might expect 70, maybe 80% utilization, because we have to have amenities and common spaces.
Yeah.
No one's hanging out at the self-storage facility. The next property I want to share with you guys today is in North Augusta. This is a former Kmart. Anytime we see former Kmart, it's like an awesome opportunity. They're scattered throughout the country. Even though they went through bankruptcy a long time ago, there's still a lot of these assets being traded. The reason why we're excited is they're a great size. If we look at like a Costco, a Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, some of those are just huge buildings when you're going over 200,000 square feet, which is acceptable for self-storage, but it's very hard to find that asset in area that can absorb that many units. So this former Kmart represented a big vacant retail box with a large lot size is just kind of like a recipe for success. Although there is a high level of competitiveness in acquisitions, you have U-Haul, CubeSmart, all the major national carriers that are continuously scouting for these opportunities. The other challenge you face would be getting the rezoning in a retail zoned area and a jurisdiction to approve that for self-storage. So we'll dive into the property summary here. Built in 1990, we're looking at just under 104,000 square feet of a masonry building here, sitting on 9 acres of land. Interesting thing about this opportunity is it actually is under a land lease at $10,800 a year, with the availability of buying it out for 1.5 million. So speaking with the broker today, getting a game plan together, their asking price, in addition to the buyout of the land lease, is within striking distance of what we're prepared to offer. But it's just a matter of making sure that we can get all those contingencies in place as we go under contract and secure that buyout price. If you take the 10,800 per year over the 50-year duration that's remaining on this lease, you can come up to $500,000. Why not just buy it out for that? The owners of this are a little bit more stubborn and are looking for a higher price. So it's something that we got to thread the needle on, make sure everything will carry, but it's looking good based on my discussions with the broker so far. Looking at the KPIs on this one, only been on the market for 96 days. We have a moderate saturation on the 3 mile, but we're under on the 5 mile compared to the state almanac. We're seeing a high mix of climate control in this area. Anytime you see a 1-to-1 ratio, it's a pretty good representation. Some markets you'll see very low climate mix, which will tell us that our product would lease up faster. Median population size with flat growth. One concern that we're vetting out right now is the median household income, sitting at 23 and 36,000 respectively. The entire city averages 63,000, but this particular pocket on a 3 and 5 mile radius is very, very low. It doesn't necessarily stop us. The rental rates themselves will be the biggest determinant of, this penciling or not, but it's definitely something we want to look into. Compared to the raw land development, El Dorado Hills, we can see a very high percentage of renter occupied as well as multifamily in the area, which suggests that this population here is going to be a little bit more dense with desire or demand for self-storage. Our strike price is at 2.6 million. Right now they have it listed for 2. The broker gave me a whisper price of 1.5 million for the asset, which would be in addition to another 1.5 million for the buyout of the land lease. So bring it up to 3. What I'm prepared to do is offer them or ask for carryback financing to bolster our price from 2.6 to 3 million to offset the debt service that we'd incur if we were to do a straight purchase. If we're able to achieve that with the seller, we can give them the ask price that they want, as well as get the returns that we desire. It is zoned thoroughfare, so we're in current discussions with the city to see the applicability of the self-storage conversion. Taking a look at the building's exterior facade, we can see it's well maintained, great landscape. Right now, it's just being rented intermittently as a flea market. No major issues with the asphalt here or the outside of the building. So it tells us that the CapEx would be limited in that capacity. This roof does need to be replaced, quotes ranging between 700,000 and 1.2 million. So we'll be baking that into our underwriting, updating the model before we send over an offer. It is fully sprinkled or has full sprinkler systems and a working HVAC. So that does save us some CapEx costs there. Just another view from the other side of the parking lot. Everything's good. It would not take much to convert this from the exterior side. Looking at the area, we can see the subject site here, adjacent to a major freeway, US 78, realizing about 25,000 vehicles per day. Just different small retail shops surrounding it. And then off to the left here, we can see some of that residential development where the population really starts to take off. Taking a look at the competitor landscape, we can see one new build coming into the area. This one is under planning or permitted. So I'm underway researching what's the viability of this project. Is this something that's just received permits and entitlements? Is it starting construction currently? This is already factored into our square foot per capita, so it wouldn't knock us out of contention, but just would decide what strategy we would take in terms of leasing up this asset. but it does indicate that there's opportunity in the market or growth going on. Rates across the board, we're averaging 139 for a 10 by 10. So right on the border of what we want to see in terms of, feasibility, in terms of bolstering rate, get the underwriting to approve. But because of the low cost basis of the land, we're able to get this over the hill. Taking a look at the underwriting, we have our traditional unit mix. This has not been underwritten for any kind of vehicle storage, just to the low median household income. We wouldn't anticipate a lot of extras like boats and RVs for this population. We have the strike price baked in at 2.6 million, with 3.6 million set aside for the interior conversion of the units, or $35 per square foot. And it would bring us a return of 25% IRR, a 3.5 multiplier, and again, an 84% return on refi capital. What my job is today, after speaking with the broker, is to back in the cost of the roof rehab and then structure mezzanine debt with the carryback financing. So we can go ahead and offer them 3 options, from a straight purchase price to anywhere from 30 to 50% carryback, because the property is free and clear of debt. And that concludes our presentation for today.
Great job, Nick.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So we're coming up at the top of the hour. Any questions from the audience? All right. And Michael, how's your asset searching going? Michael just recently joined the team, and he's scouring the country for office to multifamily opportunities. I don't know if you're with us, Michael, but I wanted to check in and see how your search is coming along. You may be distracted at the moment. All right, well, that's all we have for today's call. Until next week, we'll see you guys on Thursday. Thanks for joining. Feel free to reach out with any questions. Everyone have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Take care.
All right, guys.
Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Hey, guys.